Not all theme parks are created equal. Some offer rides for kids, newbies, and people who aren't looking for much of a thrill. But others are gonna give you a pulse-pounding experience. Today I'll be taking a look at some of the most insane rides in the world. So join me as we take a look at 15 theme park rides. All things considered, we're gonna continue this list with something relatively mild. The whole idea of roller coasters and rides of that nature, aside from providing people with death-defying drops, is to first get them up in the air. So the German ride manufacturer Gerstlauer was able to come up with a solid example with the Sky Roller. Once you strap into the seat designed to look like a World War II fighter, the Sky Roller takes you up and away and lets you feel like you're actually in a fighter plane. It's a swing-type contraction, whirling riders through the air in a circle, but each car allows the rider to control their own experience by manipulating the wings, and if they do it just right, letting them do barrel rolls like they were the Red Baron himself. The main concern would be subjecting the riders to a high amount of G-forces for the prolonged period of time, but engineers at Gerstlauer thought ahead, limiting what the Sky Roller can do. But for a ride that's able to take a pretty basic concept and turn it on its head, it makes for one unusual ride. Number 13. King Dakar. Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey has been a popular site for the adventurous for what seems like forever. The place is so big that I got a street named after it. They have all sorts of unusual rides here with even wackier names, but there's one that really takes the cake: King Dakar. King Dakar holds the titles of the tallest roller coaster in the world and the fastest in North America, so when you strap on in, you know you're in for one insane ride. The roller coaster is 456 feet high and kicks things off with a launch that sends you straight up vertically at 128 miles per hour. But what goes up must come down, and your stomach is going to be in your throat on King Dakar because you come back down vertically as well. You're coming straight back down as it looks and feels like the earth is rising up towards you in the blink of an eye. King Dakar is half the height of the Empire State Building, and why something this tall, this fast, and this heart-pounding exists is anyone's guess. Number 12. The Looper. Since we've clearly entered the stomach-churning and all-around barf-inducing territory, let's move over to Cannibal's Amusement Resort in Columbia County, Pennsylvania. They're known for their ride simply known as the Looper. It was developed back in 1942 by the Allen Herschel Company, who took the idea of a hamster ball and really ran with it. I guess we can't let hamsters have all of the fun. They made steel, life-size hamster wheels, slapped some seats and handlebars in there and let it rip. The Looper takes a few of these human hamster wheels and puts them on a mechanism that takes them in a small circle. But each wheel of steel is going to be turning the entire time, taking riders upside down the entire way. It really is a simple design, but sometimes those can be the best and the most unusual. Just make sure you don't fill up on funnel cake and cotton candy before you get into this thing. Otherwise, it's going to throw your stomach for a real loop. Number 11. X-Scream. Okay, here we go. Time to get a little extreme with the X-Scream. The X-Scream takes the incredibly basic concept of a children's teeter-totter and turns it up to 11 for the insane adrenaline junkies. This ride exists at the top of the stratosphere in Las Vegas and lets you live life on the edge, literally. Because the X-Scream tilts its riders 27 feet off the edge of a building and takes you about 866 feet in the air. It's maybe more insane than it is unusual, but maybe it's unusual to take a kid's game and throw it into the sky. But the X-Scream is the third tallest attraction in the world, probably also making it one of the most terrifying. But the ride is able to use a relatively low-tech magnetic braking system at the bottom of the car. The X-Scream rolls forward, comes to a standstill, and then does the same thing but in the opposite direction, taking everyone backward and screaming high over Sin City. Number 10. Takabisha. Alright, now we're talking about Takabisha. Takabisha is a wild roller coaster found in Fujikyu Highland Amusement Park in Fujiyoshida, Japan, and it's guaranteed to be the most pulse-pounding 2 minutes of your life. And while that may be a short ride, it can feel like hours. The ride starts you off in a pitch-black tunnel, so you have absolutely no idea what's in store for you, and that's never a good thing. From there, you'll roll into one of the first inversions. Yeah, that's right, first inversion, because after this, you've still got another 6 more to go. And remember, it's only a 2-minute ride. It's the type of roller coaster where you're better off eating after it's over and going to the bathroom before you get on. Otherwise, things are going to get really messy. When you're spinning around in all of those inversions, it doesn't take very long before you lose your sense of direction and totally forget which way is up. And all of this while traveling at a breakneck speed of 62 miles an hour before you hear that tick-tick-tick as the car climbs up over 140 feet high. And what goes up must come down. And the car on Takabisha is coming down at a 121-degree angle. The angle of the fall is so nasty that from 2011 to 2019, Takabisha was the steepest roller coaster in the world until it was beaten out by just half a degree. Riding this roller coaster and living to tell the tale is enough to impress anyone, including me. Number 9. Cannibal. Imagine you're waiting in line for a roller coaster. You look up at the sign and the name reads Cannibal. You'd have to be a nut to keep going forward, but thousands of people a year go through with it at the Lagoon Amusement Park in Farmington, Utah. Not only does the amusement park's star attraction Cannibal eat up the competition, it's also guaranteed to eat you alive as well. This ravaging roller coaster ride lasts only 150 seconds, but you'll wish it was less from the get-go, and it's definitely not recommended for beginners. Things start out fine enough, but once the elevator lift takes you up 208 feet into the air, you'll be crying for mommy, especially because most of the ascent is done in the dark. And that light at the end of the tunnel isn't heaven. In fact, it's quite the opposite as you descend back down towards the earth at a 116-degree angle. Yikes! Riders freefall right into an underground tunnel, which at this point probably feels like you've died and woke up in the underworld. But then, of course, Cannibal chews you up and spits you back out into a half loop and then a full dive loop. But before the ride comes to a stop, riders are given a free baptism through the waterfall right before taking on 2 heartline rolls in opposite directions. Yeah, Cannibal is absolutely insane and most definitely lives up to its name. Number 8. Giant Canyon Swing. Alright, the only real way to conquer your fear of heights is to climb up a structure as high as you can, look down, and hang on for dear life before someone comes to rescue you. But the Giant Canyon Swing in Glenwood Springs, Colorado takes things to a whole new level. And while this ride may just be a swing, it's anything but a walk in the park. The Giant Canyon Swing is built right on the top of a cliff of a mountain in Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park. It's a pendulum that seats only 4 people, and once you're strapped in, it swings back and forth, getting faster and going for longer in each direction as the ride presses on. The scariest part is looking down at the vast canyon that awaits you should things go wrong. Luckily, though, this ride is 100% safe, and I guess 100% horrifying. Sure, you're treated to some of the best natural views in the United States, but it comes at a high price, literally, because riders are left with their little feet dangling out over 1,300 feet above the Colorado River as the Giant Canyon Swing revs up to its top speed of 50 miles an hour. At that point, you're hitting the rate of natural freefall as you swing back down, and while the ride itself may not offer any flips, corkscrews, or right-hand turns, you can bet that your stomach will be doing all of those as you beg for it to be over. This is definitely the type of ride that has you kneeling to kiss the dirt when it's all over. Number 7. Formularasa. Most of us are never going to have the chance to drive a Formula 1 car, and even if we did manage to get behind the wheel, your average driver isn't going to know where to begin with the vehicle. Luckily though, for all the wannabe speed demons out there, Formularasa offers the next best thing. Located in Ferrari World in the opulent United Arab Emirates, the Formularasa is a roller coaster meant to not just look like a race car, but go as fast as one as well. It reaches an insane top speed of 150 miles an hour, which is fast enough to make you feel like your eyes are bulging out of their sockets. And the thing about Formularasa is that from the ground, it doesn't look all that intimidating. There aren't any hairpin twists and turns, steep drops, or loops to be had. But this hydraulic launch roller coaster is the fastest in the world, and doesn't even give you time to think once it gets going. And by the time it's all over, you won't even be sure of what just happened. Riders will initially experience just under 2 Gs at the onset, but Formularasa puts the pedal to the metal and those 2 Gs quickly become 5, which is enough to make someone pass out. In fact, Formularasa goes so fast that all riders are required to wear safety goggles because of the risk of hitting airborne insects. So in that case, just make sure you ride this one with your mouth closed. Number 6. Banshee. In Irish folklore, a banshee is a spirit that warns of the death of a loved one by letting out an incredible shriek. So why not just go ahead and name a roller coaster after one of those? Banshee is a mainstay of Kings Island Amusement Park in Ohio, with much of its claim to fame stemming from the inverted track. So instead of feeling somewhat safe inside of a car, anyone experiencing Banshee is left with their feet dangling from the seat, giving them the feeling that they're flying through the air at breakneck speeds. Or maybe it's just really falling with style. It's also the longest inverted roller coaster in the world with over 4,100 feet of track, and is the third fastest of its kind in the world, with riders hitting a top speed of 68 miles an hour. This ride is seriously no joke. Banshee is packed with plenty of loops, twists, turns, and inversions. It's even hard to know which way is up most of the time, making it as terrifying as it is unpredictable. And you shouldn't forget about her death-defying 150-foot drop right before the zero-G roll, inline twist, and pretzel knot. This ride is enough to have anyone screaming like, well, a Banshee. Number 5. Intimidator 305. Kings Dominion is an amusement park in Doswell, Virginia, and it's home to one of the most intimidating rides in the world, the Intimidator 305. Looking like it was invented by a twisted 15-year-old and roller coaster tycoon, Intimidator 305 is on a very short list of roller coasters that have a drop of more than 300 feet. So it's safe to say that if you're afraid of heights, then this one isn't for you. Or maybe it's the best way to overcome your fear. Well, this roller coaster is so insane that shortly after it opened to the public in 2010, so many riders had adverse reactions like grayouts and blackouts that the ride needed to be modified. So the ride is safe. It was just a little too insane for the average person to handle. I guess there's no shame in that, because what good is a ride if you're not even conscious enough to enjoy it? But thrill seekers come from far and wide to experience the Intimidator 305 with its one-of-a-kind lift hill and very low-to-the-ground design, which makes all of those tight twists and turns all the more intense. The coaster has a total of 6 airtime humps that allows riders to feel that sense of weightlessness while their stomachs attempt to climb up their throats and out of their mouths. In all, the Intimidator 305 offers 5,100 feet of death-defying track, and was not only named the second best new ride in 2010, but consistently ranks as one of the best steel roller coasters in the world year after year. Number 4. Nothing but net. Have you ever shuddered at the saying, "without the safety of the net"? Well, that saying is taken to all new heights with the next ride on this list, the aptly named Nothing But Net in Zero Gravity Theme Park in Dallas, Texas. The aptly named Nothing But Net in Zero Gravity Theme Park in Dallas, Texas. Believe it when I say this ride is absolutely horrifying and not for the faint of heart. The concept with this one is incredibly simple. What would it feel like to freefall from the top of a 16-story tower? Only the brave, the bold, and anyone with a death wish need apply. You're brought up to the top of the tower about 225 feet into the air, but instead of being strapped in or having a bungee cord attached to you, you just fall. There's nothing but you, nothing but your scream, and nothing but net, because the only thing that's going to save you are the set of nets below. But despite everything you heard, Nothing But Net is incredibly safe, with their patented netting system making sure that you fall on a low center of gravity every time. There's no room for a mishap here, and while there's no roller coaster-like experience here to make you want to barf, just staring at the ground from the top of the tower is enough to leave you shaking in your boots and dry heaving from pure fear. Number 3. Insanity Stratosphere. Heading back over to the Stratosphere in Las Vegas is another ride even crazier than the X-Scream. Simply called Insanity Stratosphere because you have to be insane to want to ride this thing. The Insanity Stratosphere is very simple. It's a bright green centrifuge that once you strap on in, extends out over 64 feet over the tower's north edge. But the point of this thing isn't just to sit still and stare out over the Vegas Strip. The Insanity kicks things into gear quickly, and the centrifuge spins around like there's no tomorrow, over 40 miles an hour. And as you're spinning, you can't help but notice that the ride is also starting to tip over. But don't worry, because that's supposed to happen, even when you pivot a full 70 degrees, which makes it so that eventually all of the riders are facing the street below. This is without a doubt one of the scariest rides in the world, earning its name and providing people with one of the safest death-defying experiences around. And that statement alone should make your head spin, almost as much as the Insanity Stratosphere does. Number 2. Superman Ride of Steel. Six Flags is one of the most fun theme parks in the world and offers some of the coolest rides around. And how the superheroes and comic book characters like Batman and the Riddler tie into pulse-pounding rides is anyone's guess, but the park manages to execute it beautifully. There's one ride in particular that people are always literally screaming to get on: Superman Ride of Steel. And if you're gonna give this one a go, then you're gonna need a stomach of steel, because it's a doozy. There are 3 versions of the Superman Ride of Steel across the United States, but the Massachusetts location is the one to beat. This ride wins all sorts of awards every year and is considered by many to be the best, most thrilling roller coaster in the country. Just like Superman himself, riders travel at speeds close to 80 miles an hour as they hit a 220-foot drop into an underground tunnel, shoot up 2 bunny hills, 3 camelbacks, and experience a full 10 seconds of weightlessness. Why join up with NASA when you can experience that here? And just looking at this ride from the ground is enough to make you want to lose your lunch. Number 1. Colossus. It's hard to know where to begin with the Colossus in England's Thorpe Park. Standing at 100 feet high and reaching speeds of 45 miles an hour, the Colossus may not be the fastest roller coaster in the world, but it is certainly one of the windiest. Opened in 2002, it was the first roller coaster in the world to include 10 inversions and became so popular that an exact replica was made in China. As soon as you strap into the Colossus, you're greeted with the ticking and clicking of the chain lift as it brings you to the ride's peak and drops you like a bad habit down a 180-degree turn right into another drop and into a vertical loop, the first of the 10 inversions. You'll hit an airtime hill, and for that feeling of weightlessness for just a moment before the cars are thrust into a cobra roll. And that's just phase 1. Colossus is absolutely crazy, and it even takes your photo during one of the corkscrews so you can see what you look like as you try to withstand everything it could possibly throw at you. And people who have ridden Colossus all have one thing in common: they've never been the same since. Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and get ready to binge.